Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam and welcome back to the AFI project. Today we're going to be taking a look at American Graffiti. This was directed by George Lucas. We all know who he is. And this movie stars Ron Howard and Richard Dreyfuss, among others. And in between his first film, THX 1138, and, well, Star Wars, this is in the middle of George Lucas's early filmography, and from all accounts, this is George Lucas's most personal movie. To try and describe the story is a bit tricky, so I'll just try and sum it up as best I can. It's essentially the story of a group of teenagers who are living their best lives, I guess, in early 1960s California. We all know George Lucas for Star Wars. It's one of those movies that even if you've never seen it, you know exactly what it is. But George Lucas never really wanted to make movies like Star Wars. He always wanted to make very abstract, low-budget, kind of like Terrence Malick movies. And so when his first movie, THX 1138, was a financial disappointment, his friend, you may have heard of him, his name is Francis Ford Coppola, basically challenged him to make a mainstream movie. And American Graffiti is the result of that bet. And in making American Graffiti, Lucas pretty much took inspiration from his own life growing up around the time of this movie in Modesto, California. I really don't like it when critics call things slice of life things like a slice of life TV show or a slice of life movie. I don't know why, I just never really understood what that meant. However, this is a slice of life movie. We are pretty much looking into what the adolescence of George Lucas might have looked like. Also, before I move on, I didn't know where else to put this in the review, so I'll just say it here. One of the things I found in my research was that Mark Hamill was originally supposed to be in this movie, but he had a scheduling conflict and couldn't make it. So basically, we could have had Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill in a movie together that wasn't Star Wars. Think about that for a second. But as far as American Graffiti goes, I had seen this movie before, but it had been a very long time. But now I've seen it again, I can safely say, yeah, I can see why this movie was so popular. What this movie lacks in narrative makes up for in just general feeling. This movie looks like what everyone would imagine the 1960s or the early 60s would look like. Everybody's driving around in these custom-built cars. There's a diner on every corner or a drive-in. Heck, the movie starts with the song Rock Around the Clock. Like, that's the movie we're watching. An awesome song, by the way. This movie feels definitely more like a documentary than a 3-act movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that's not necessarily a knock, it's just more of saying, hey, this is more meant for being a little bit more abstract than narrative. Seeing Richard Dreyfuss in anything is always really nice. Ron Howard is in here also, and he's really good, and he would go on to have a lot of success. Though in this movie, he's billed as Ronnie Howard. I don't know if that was just a choice at the time, but it just... I can't imagine him going by Ronnie Howard today. Like, Apollo 13 was directed by Ronnie Howard. Or A Beautiful Mind was directed by Ronnie Howard. Or Hillbilly Elegy was directed by Ronnie Howard. But like I said, or like I was alluding to, this movie really doesn't have that much of a story. There are story threads, but no real traditional story with rising action, climax, and then resolution. This movie is just looking in on what it is assumed that teenagers would be doing in the early 1960s in this part of America, in more of a documentary format, like I mentioned. But the ending of this movie is genuinely heartbreaking. I will not spoil it here, but essentially, for these fictional characters, the movie does a good job of making you feel for them because, again, I'm trying my hardest not to go into spoilers, but essentially, the movie frames this as, okay, this is the end of one chapter in their lives and the beginning of another. So they're basically having as much fun as possible before that. And in the case of some of the characters, it turns out to be pretty tragic. But at the end of the day, if you're going into this movie completely blind, just knowing that this movie is very loose on structure. However, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of music and sound and the way things look and are presented, then it is a visual and just audio feast. It's a slice of what the early 1960s might have looked like. In a parallel universe, Star Wars never exists, and George Lucas would direct all kinds of movies like American Graffiti. I don't know if things would be better or worse off, but it really does make you think. But that is all for me, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Next time on the AFI Project, we're going to be pivoting slightly and talking about a musical from around the same time. It's from 1973, and it is called Cabaret. But if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way, when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.